I'm going to review Stranger Things 4, Episode 3. I've jotted down some notes to keep myself right so I don't really miss much. And right now I'm in just my robe, t-shirt, boxers, and slippers in the garage because the house is asleep. I was really hoping to watch Season 4 with a particular so-and-so. Wasn't meant to be. You know who you are. I miss you. Okay. Intro. So episode 3 begins with Dr. Owen. He was the one that was helping Will Byers and Joyce in season 2 with Will at the Hawkins lab, and it was to do with learning more about the Upside Down and ensuring that he'd be able to recover from his traumatic experience of being trapped in there during season 1. So he's back in season 4. He gets a rude wake-up call from a military officer, a high-ranking officer, actually more like a colonel, and he comes down and he's like, where's 11, bitch, where is she? There's people in the government that believe 11's the evil one, she's the threat, she's the one responsible for all this here, whenever the threat really is just Vecna, and he's always been there. For some reason he's only coming out now, and people are noticing that there's an issue. Things are weird in Hawkins, everything's mysterious and bizarre over the last few years. Started with Barb's death. Dr. Owens tells the guy that 11's dead, just trying to cover it all up. That just doesn't exist anymore. And then it cuts to 11, Jonathan, Will and Mike. They're returning to Joyce's home, and this is after 11 had smacked the school bully up the face of the roller skate. Hold on. I thought maybe somebody was outside there. There isn't, just the wind. And they're get a nice welcome when they see that Murray is there cooking dinner. And he makes up this bullshit excuse that he just happened to be shopping around in California, and he said, oh, that's right, the Byers moved here, I might well drop in, pay them a wee visit. When the real reason he's there is because he and Joyce have learned that Hopper is alive and being held at a Russian military camp, and they're both basically going to go out and look for him, rescue him, bring him back, and both agreed not to tell the kids about Hopper's whereabouts. I think it's still a shock for them when they're still processing it, and they don't really know how the kids will take that there, especially 11, because she was close to Hopper. He was basically her father figure, not Papa, Dr. Martin Brenner. Hopper was the one that took her in, looked after her, nurtured her, and taught her to read and write and shit like that. And the next, it cuts to the jocks again. They're still looking for Eddie, and they're going around all the places where they think that he might be, and he realizes that they're most likely going to kill him. These guys have lost their minds. Like, I can understand that the leader of the jocks, is grief-stricken and wants to kill Eddie, even though Eddie didn't do it. And so they arrive at one of his friends' houses, and his Hellfire Club members' friends are have their own band in the garage, they're playing music, and they assault them and then try to beat information out of them. And they basically mentioned Dustin Henderson would probably know where fucking Dustin would know where Eddie is. So Lucas realizes, okay, this is going too far. This involves his former friends, and he doesn't want to see them in danger. So he finds a radio, contacts Dustin, and tells him what's happening, and Dustin tells him where Eddie is. Then the jocks catch up with Lucas, and they ask him, what the hell are you doing? And he's like, I was trying to find clues, thinking about I found one, I know where Eddie is. So they go up to the place to look for him there. 11's complaining to Mike how she feels one-sided in the relationship, and it's kind of gone stale, and just arguing with him that she's always writing I love you, I love you, I love you, with each letter she sends to him. Every time Mike will let her back, it basically just said from Mike, never really said love you back. I can understand, because I've been in Mike's position where, you really should have done more, but you don't, because you're an asshole. But you live, you learn, you move on. As sad as it is. So instead, Mike convinces 11 that he does love her, and proves it afterwards, and that he tells her she's a superhero and all, literally the best person he's ever met. And then 11 is arrested by the California police for assaulting the school bully with a roller skate the night before. And then Mike goes out of his way to try and stop her from being arrested and sent to juvenile prison. And Joyce isn't around because they require a parent or a legal guardian to be in a situation to request to see 11 before she's sent off or speak for her or whatever, some crap like that. So 11 is being interrogated by the police for assaulting the school bully. She basically answers like saying that she doesn't know if she wanted to kill her or not, and she doesn't know if she meant to assault her the way that she did. And this doesn't put a good look on 11, it really doesn't. The officers are going in their own heads, this girl is freaking nuts. She's not right. She's not all there in the head. She really is. There's something wrong here. And so they drive her off the highway to the juvenile prison. And meanwhile, four or five government cars stop. They bring the van to a halt, and they demand that they let go of 11, and they'll take her from there. And you're led. It looks like, you know, the government that wants to get rid of 11, or it looks like it's them. But whenever 11 breaks out and tries to run away, she realises Dr. Owen is in one of the cars. He steps out and basically just tells her, you know, it's all okay, you know. And they basically get rid of the rest of the case where she assaulted the school bully. That's like buried and just free from that there. So he gives her a choice. She can either get her powers back, but there's a possibility of a cost. It might not work. It could end up killing her or something. And because Hawkins is now under a deeper threat than it has ever been before, and they need 11 now to fight Vecna and take the whole thing down. Otherwise, Hawkins is probably gone off the map for good. And then it shows Jim Hopper at the Russian prison camp, and he bribes another prisoner with his bread and soup because he wants to see if he can convince him to break the chains that are shackled around his ankles. The prisoner agrees to it. So whenever they're on the tracks, whenever the guards aren't looking, the prisoner does, with a sledgehammer, smashes the chains. He doesn't actually break them, but he does enough damage to them where Hopper is able to like slowly slip them off, and then he slips them back on. And you actually do see the cuts on his ankles that were inflicted on him as the chain was being smashed with a sledgehammer. Ow! He was standing there in the cold in excruciating pain and putting his hand over his mouth like this, trying to, you know, make sure he didn't scream loud enough for the guards to hear him. Oh, he took that like a man. Jesus. And at the Hawkins library, Nancy and Robin are looking through all the newspaper articles to do with Victor Creel, who's the guy that allegedly murdered his entire family. When you later find out that Vecna was the one who took over the house and basically killed his family. And of course, again, the police aren't going to believe that some supernatural entity, demon, murdered your entire family, so because he was left alive, the finger was pointed at him and he got arrested and sent to an insane asylum for section because nobody would believe his story. Who would? Who would in their right minds believe him? You know, nutcase. And he was played by Robert Englund. Well, I kind of grasped it, you know, by episode 1 or 2 that he'd be playing that character whenever Victor Creel was mentioned. You know, Robert Englund's obviously the guy you're going to get to play as such a, you know, strange, mysterious character like that there. Like Freddy Krueger, you know. So, blah blah blah. Itchy cock. So, I really like this episode as well. You know, it's definitely, it feels more like season 1. There's more of a the mystery's back. You know, it's not as mysterious as season 1, but it's more, I like how, I can see now, looking back at the first episode, there was no direction there. But that was them trying to bring the mystery back, where a lot's happened, a lot's going on, and they're slowly lifting the veil as we go along. And because we were so used to seeing the characters from the first 3 seasons, we kind of knew what was happening. And the only way to bring that mystery back was to misdirect the audience again. That's why episode 1 was made the way it was, is so that we would all be confused, not know what's going on, and then as each episode goes, we'd find out more and more and more. You know, smart. I think they could have done a better job with episode 1 though. It was more just the characterization to show, oh, everything's all good, everyone's happy, everyone is where they need to be. Well, episode 2, bang, Stranger Things was back, and episode 3 and 4 manages to retain that. So yeah, I am happy with what we're getting so far. I'm actually liking season 4 a lot better than I liked season 3. I really am, because it's starting to get darker and darker. This is Stranger Things, it's freaking back. I'm starting to take the word now. I'm starting to eat the words of what I said about episode 1. I really am. And you know what, I've no shame. I was hoping I'd be wrong, and thank goodness it looks like I am wrong. Let's see if they can keep this up right until the end of the season. You know, they could always mess it up, but right now it looks promising. It's starting to.